Hi, my name is Beth, and you're listening to the Canna Fitness and Nutrition Podcast, where we are hanging out at the intersection of fitness, nutrition, and cannabis. Thank you so much for pressing play today. I'm excited that you're here because this is part 2 of the Munchie Myth podcast episodes. If you didn't listen to last week's, go back and listen to that because I talk about why cannabis is not causing you to lose control around food. And this week we're going to talk about what to do about the munchies, right? Last week we talked about how cannabis does not cause binge eating. It does not cause you to dial the pizza place and order the pizza, and that it's, there's a misunderstanding there. And this week we're going to talk about what to do, because so what do, right? So we established that you might be having just crazy days where you're just go, go, go from morning to night, and you don't get a chance to eat a lot. You maybe even had to skip a meal in there somewhere because you forgot or didn't have time, and now you're starving. And then once you get home and dinner starts, and maybe you've had an edible or you're about to take one, or maybe you have a puff and you're going to have puff, you're going to consume cannabis in some way. You just can't stop eating. It's like you get home and you have dinner because you're starving, but then you just need more food, more and more food. And so you automatically blame cannabis because, well, everybody thinks cannabis gives them the munchies, and munchies means now you have no control around food, right? What do? Right? So let's talk about that. What do we do? The very first thing you're going to do is you're going to stop and you're going to take a beat, right? This is the thing I teach. Everything I teach revolves around taking a beat. We take a beat. When you have the cravings and you can't stop thinking about food, you take a beat and you start to ask yourself what's really going on, right? Because you're getting messages from your brain, your body, all over the place. And you need to determine if you get a message that says, chips, more chips, I need more chips, I need something to satisfy me. That's not satisfying. That dinner wasn't satisfying. You may have just had a really healthy dinner and feel completely unsatisfied. And that is completely normal, right? So you need to determine, when you take a beat, you need to determine what is that coming from? Is I hungry? Like, is my stomach actually still need more food to feel satisfied? Or is that a fatigue? Am I just tired? Is it that I underfueled all day? Did I skip a meal? If you don't eat enough during the day, and that includes maybe only having coffee for breakfast, only having a protein bar as a meal or a snack, not actually eating a real meal with some protein, some carbs, some fat, some, fruits and vegetables, not actually eating a real food during the day, is going to catch up with you. Your body knows it's underfueled, right? Your body's very intelligent, and it is telling you in not the nicest way that it needs more food. It's tricking you. It's saying, it's called food noise, right? It's saying more, something satisfying. Especially if you tend to eat too little, which is really common with women I work with, and those of us who are trying to navigate midlife and stay in the same size jeans. I feel like that should be somebody's tagline. Navigate midlife and stay in the same size jeans. So those of us that are trying to do that, you know, under eating is common. I talked about this in the last episode, but I kept saying there's a little underlying voice that says, the less I eat, the less I weigh. The less I eat, the less I weigh. And that voice, it's always there. So when you just have coffee for breakfast, you're like, it's fine. It'll be fine. The less I eat, the less I weigh, right? Oh, well, I skipped a meal. Oh, well, I didn't have time to have lunch. Oh, well, because I'm just trying to eat less anyway, trying to navigate midlife and fit into my jeans, right? So did that happen? It's really important that you go back and look and see, were you in go, go, go all day long? Was your cortisol spiked? When your cortisol is high all day long, cortisol suppresses your appetite, right? Which is good. It's doing its job. We need cortisol to suppress appetite, because if you're running for a tiger, you can't stop and have a meal, right? It's just evolutionary. So we need to stop and see what is actually going on, because now you have all these differing things coming at you. Because here's the real truth, right? If you're hungry, if your stomach is still hungry, it's still empty, right? Not full, you need food, right? If it is full and you do not need food, then we need to figure out what you do need, right? But again, this is where THC, cannabis, comes in handy. So you already have the tools, you just need to figure out how to put them in order, right? So when it comes to THC specifically, THC, you got to watch out for THC because THC enhances our sensations, right? All of them. It enhances all of your sensations. So when it comes to food and appetite sensations, it will amplify hunger for sure, but it will also amplify fullness, right? So while a lot of people blame THC for giving them the munchies, that's telling me that you might have already been hungry, right? Because if it's amplifying fullness, you should also be able to tell, oh, I'm full, right? Which again tells me that we might be missing a really key piece of the problem here, which is that underfueling during the day. You're not eating enough when you're not using cannabis, and then when you use cannabis, it highlights the fact that you didn't eat enough and that now you need more food, right? Also, because cannabis enhances our sensations, so you're getting more, you're it feels like you're hungrier because you're thinking, ooh, that sounds really good. Oh, chips would be great, crunchy, salty, yeah, pretzels, ooh, soft, chewy bread, ooh, yeah, ooh, creamy ice cream, right? Like you're getting those dopamine hits from the enhanced sensations. But that's all that is. It's just food noise. It's not actually forcing you to eat food, right? It's not actually forcing you to go get the chips, right? And so here's what we do. We have to really differentiate between appetite, the sensory pleasure of eating, and the urgency, which is a deprivation response, right? So what I'm saying is that you have more control over appetite because it's simply sensory pleasure, right? And you have less control over urgency because it's a biological response to being deprived of nutrition, right? So those are easy solutions. Appetite, sensory pleasure, if that's going on in our mind, then we can also tell ourselves, yes, that is really good. But you know what is also really good and more in line with my goals because I'm navigating midlife and trying to fit into my jeans? I would really like to have a chicken breast with some roasted sweet potatoes and some, I don't know, some Primal Kitchen dressing on a Caesar salad, like, something really flavorful and tasty. Cannabis can also enhance that and make that appealing, right? It doesn't apply simply to junk food. Cannabis has no correlation to junk food. We have a correlation to junk food. We get a dopamine hit off of junk food. But you know what's more satisfying than junk food? Real food, right? And the urgency, this deprivation response, we can completely take that out when we start fueling ourselves properly all day, having breakfast, having lunch, planning it in advance, having food around that you can eat for breakfast, having food around you can eat for lunch, having a plan to go get a specific lunch, right? Thinking ahead. This is literally the work I do with clients is we take their pattern, we figure out what the problem is, right? Identify the problem. Problem is they swing through Starbucks every morning and pick up a something something latte and go straight to work, have meetings, forget to eat lunch, come home, and then go from there. And then they just eat constantly through the rest of the night, right? So we can break that pattern. We can plan breakfast. We can have breakfast. We can plan food. We can plan lunch, eat, and then your cravings at night, you won't be starved. You won't be deprived, and they go away, right? That's one of the biggest things. Now, a couple other things too to know about THC is that the higher dose of THC you take, the more intense this is going to be. So a lot of times What helps is using a lower dose of THC. What also helps is combining it with CBD. CBD does not trigger the munchies. CBD actually counterbalances THC in a lot of ways. And when it comes to appetite stimulation and that sensory pleasure, CBD really counterbalances THC a big way. So you might find by simply changing from a THC edible to a combination CBD and THC edible that you feel much calmer and the cravings go away. It might be that simple. Now again, this is very nuanced because say you're using it for sleep, right? Well, then, I would recommend you look for a THC CBD with maybe a little CBN in it. But again, it's so nuanced. Everybody's different. So you have to really look at different products and consider, or maybe even try if you're game for it, it's a fun experiment, right? To see what it feels like to take a CBD and THC gummy, right? You might find that it feels actually pretty amazing because they do balance each other really, really well. But my point is just know that the more THC you take, the more severe these symptoms are going to be, right? Checking in. So let's go over these steps here. Things you can do to manage the munchies. First of all, you're going to check in, right? You're going to check in with your body and see what's going on. Am I hungry or am I tired, right? Or am I just craving? Am I just high? You're going to make sure you're fueling. You're going to ask yourself if you fueled, right? Did I fuel today? And then you can easily change that, fuel earlier. You're going to dose intentionally. So I would say be very mindful of how much you're taking, because taking too much, and it's easy to do, is to take too much, especially inhaling, then you're more likely to have cravings. Eating slowly. This is an underused tool, but really slowing down and eating with awareness can be huge, and especially when it comes to checking in with your body, seeing if you're hungry, tasting things, seeing if you want more, stopping before you're finished, really slowing down. Again, cannabis is great for slowing down. It really helps you be present in the moment, and if you know that, right? You're super present when you use cannabis, which is probably one of the reasons why you love it. Like I do. I love it. I'm actually in the moment here. My brain's not racing 1,000 different ways. So the slower you can eat and the slower you slow down, the more you're going to see these patterns and see what's really going on, which is your stomach's not empty. You're not hungry. You're just having a response. It could be to underfueling. It could be a fatigue response. It could be a nervous system response. You're just having a response. Your senses are just enhanced, right? And then the last one that it seems like an outlier, but you've got to sleep. If you're not sleeping well, everything is thrown off. And I say this in all of my coaching, whether it's with or without cannabis, and if it's about the munchies or not. If you're not sleeping, you're not feeling like working out, you're not making healthy decisions, you're more likely to get the munchies. Sleep is just really important. So those are the big things that you can do to actually manage the monkeys. Oh my gosh, the munchies. Manage the munchies. And learning about it is key. And if you want help, because again, this is so nuanced, I could definitely tell you more about terpenes. There are some terpenes that do tend to enhance the sensory pleasure more than others, and ones that are less. And they're also investigating THCV, which is a cannabinoid. It's not psychoactive at all. It's more like CBD, but even though the molecule is just different, so they call it THCV. And they're studying that for appetite suppression. CBD can suppress your appetite as well. So there's so much nuance to it. And so this is why I am so passionate about helping people with this, because you might want to look at the actual cannabis that you're taking, and you might want to try some different terpene profiles. You might want to look into humulene. You might want to look into THCV. There's actually products out there now. They're marketing to this. They're marketing to to the consumer like you and me who care about whether our jeans fit. And we are trying to navigate midlife while keeping our jeans the same size, So if you're interested in one-on-one help with that, that's what I do in my programs. Starting a new program called the Munchie Makeover. And you'll be hearing lots more about that if you follow me on social. So follow me on socials. I'm on Instagram. It's Beth_Canna Fitness Nutrition. Facebook is just me, Beth Skinner Jasinski. And you can message me on Instagram, which is Beth_Canna Fitness Nutrition. So I look forward to hearing from you if you would like more guidance on this. I hope that this was helpful. I really do, because I'm super passionate about this. And if you think it would help someone else, please share it, forward it, whatever. That really helps the podcast grow, and it helps more people. And it's my mission now that the whole world knows that the munchies aren't what you thought they were, and that they're not a problem anymore. And there's going to be I'm super excited, because there's going to be a lot of us that are going to be standing up saying the munchies aren't a problem. And that's great. Okay, see you next time.